A heartfelt plea to fix the healthcare system. New tonight on Our News Live at 7, the family of a woman who died at Princess Margaret Hospital speaks out as they process her devastating death. A refocus on how care is practiced in the country and the ability to address illnesses, the focus of a senior nurses leaders symposium. And One Nation, One Legacy, Our Future, the theme and logo for the 50th anniversary of independence celebrations launched Thursday. And then in Our News at 7:30, the health minister calls for an immediate investigation into the death of a wife and mother of 3 who died at PMH earlier this month. Our News Live at 7 starts now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Hours after her shocking death, the family of Camise Darville is speaking out. The circumstances surrounding her untimely passing in a state-run hospital sparking a fierce public debate about health care. As members of her family say they will fight for justice. Berthany McDermott is on the story.
Oh man, it isn't fair! It isn't fair! What was she left to do?
That's the grieving husband of Camise Darville, who died at the Princess Margaret Hospital Thursday after being hospitalized for 17 days. Her family says they're hurt, numb, confused, and angry following her shocking death. In a heart-wrenching Facebook Live, she detailed her experience and revealed doctors waited days after her admission to inform her that she had to make a plea to friends and family for blood. Now, her cousin, Natalia Wilson, says they will use every avenue to ensure justice prevails.
We are going to overturn all obstacles to receive justice for Camise Darville.
The family asked specifically if that could mean taking legal action. Her grieving husband responded like this.
Legal action don't fix the system. Right? We have to fix the system for people.
After it was revealed that she was in desperate need for blood, this flyer made the rounds on social media, and according to her husband, many came to lend assistance.
It was a joy to see us come together as a collective. To come together, to honor my wife, to fight for my family.
Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville says a probe into her untimely death is underway.
Empty words and lip service will not be sufficient. It is very important for us as a family to get all the facts.
Amid what seems to be a long-standing issue, the need for blood at the blood bank, with tears in his eyes, the father of 3 pleaded with the public to give blood.
Those that could give blood that wasn't the right match for my wife, they went on to help save another life. And this is what you should be proud of as well. Because the blood bank is desperate for blood.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Well, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville speaking to a senior nurse leaders symposium where he said there needs to be a refocus on how care is practiced and the ability to address illnesses.
Many of our patients who come to us with medical conditions have a clinical diagnosis. But because of the challenges we face and the demand on us, we never really get the opportunity to treat all of the other factors associated with how they internalize their illness.
Dr. Darville says the art of healthcare has been lost, adding that it needs to be regained again. The senior nurses had a full day of sessions under the theme Nursing Leaders Recharged and Future Ready. Dr. Darville also speaking to physicians saying some of them have become too disease-oriented.
I believe that some of our physicians now have become so disease-orientated in their treatment that they don't look at the individual holistically and prescribe medication that affects their ability to function in other aspects of their life. And as a direct result, the blood pressure is not controlled, and they come back with symptoms.
Well, a 22-year-old man was sentenced to 5 months in prison for possessing 2 bulletproof vests. Shervin Colebrook of Pinewood Gardens was arrested on January 17th after he advertised the vests for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Colebrook pleaded guilty to possession of body armor at his arraignment before Magistrate Kendra Kelly. In mitigation, attorney Bjorn Ferguson told the court that the vests were owned by a policewoman who negligently left them after she moved out of a house that she was renting. Oliver, the caretaker at the home, said he found the vests in a shed. After he fell on hard times, Ferguson said Oliver foolishly decided to sell them. He said that Oliver was remorseful. However, Ferguson added that the crime wouldn't have occurred if the officer had followed the force's policy regarding government property. And a woman who disfigured her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend in an acid attack will be freed from prison earlier after the Court of Appeal reduced her sentence from 7 to 3 years. 25-year-old Darshani Gibson was convicted of causing grievous harm to Sinclair Mackey in February 2022. Mackey was at her job at Casey's Bar on East Street when Gibson threw the acid on her upper body, causing serious injuries. Now, the Court of Appeal agreed with defense lawyer Richard Humes' submission that the magistrate erred by imposing a maximum sentence on Gibson, although it was her first offense. However, Justice of Appeal Roy Jones noted that Gibson took the acid to her victim's job with the intent to cause injury. He said this was not done in a heated fight, but was a calculated act. Courts must send a message that this type of behavior is unacceptable in this society, and it is for this reason that a prison sentence is appropriate in this case. It is clear, however, that the imposition of the maximum of 7 years was not the appropriate response to meet the justice of this case. We have more on that right at ournews.bs. Well, cable caper. Police on Abaco need your help finding the suspect or suspects responsible for stealing 6,000 feet of cable. Police say shortly after 11 a.m. Thursday, officers from Sandy Point Police Station received reports that 6,000 feet of cable was stolen from Sands Cove's subdivision in Sandy Point, Abaco. The cable has an estimated street value of $20,000. And some new faces about to take the Supreme Court bench with the announcement of 5 new justices. A press statement from the Judicial and Legal Services Commission confirming the names forwarded to Governor General Sir C.A. Smith, Gregory Moss, Simone Fitzcharles, Collar Card Stubbs, Franklin Williams KC, and Hope Strawn. They are expected to fill positions following the retirement of Senior Justice Estelle Gray Evans, Justice Ruth Bowe Darvo, and former Chief Justice Sir Brian Morey. As for the appointments, the Commission says it also took into account the pending retirements of Justice Diane Stewart and Senior Justice Indra Charles, who are both set to demit office in April. All right, we've got a whole lot more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center. And Greg, I am feeling the warm.
Yeah, it is getting warm. Temperatures at night are starting to climb into the mid to upper 60s. Yeah. We were getting a couple of low 60s, but clouds out there now. It's going to climb a bit, so it's going to be warm tonight if you plan on doing anything on the outdoors. 75 degrees right now outside our studios and partly cloudy skies. Most of that is some high-level clouds moving from west to east out of the Gulf of Mexico. The winds out of the north at 7 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature a very comfortable 74. Around the islands tonight, temperature-wise, it's 72 in Freeport, 74 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Over in Alistown, Bimini, 75, 76 in Great Harbor Key, 74 in Governor's Harbor. Across in Nicholstown, the Big Yard, Andros, you are 75. Central Bahamas, 75 in Kemps Bay, as well as in Arthurstown, Cat Island, and in Copenhagen, San Salvador. We pick up a pair of 77s in Georgetown, Exuma, and in Deadman's Key, that's Long Island. 79 in the Southeast Bahamas, Dunkertown, Ragged Island, 77 in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, as well as in Abrahams Bay. Delectable Bay, 78. Matthewtown, Inagua, 79, and our neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, you are 75 at this hour. Across the area, quiet weather once again, ridge of high pressure in charge, but we do have a very weak front that's extending across the Atlantic just to the north of Grand Bahama and across South Florida, actually near the Lake Okeechobee area. Most of the activity is in the Gulf of Mexico. We do expect that front to stall just across the northern Bahamas, so we could see some clouds as well as some isolated showers, and they will be concentrated mainly across Grand Bahama, Abaco, and the Bimini area. Here in the capital, we're looking for a little more sunshine. That front is expected to lift back towards the north over the next couple of days. We'll show that later on in our extended forecast. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. I'll tell you what's happening for the weekend.
Still to come in our news, the grand unveiling of the 50th Independence logo was met with much fanfare in downtown Nassau and mixed reaction online. Our Sasha Lightborn has the recap coming up. And new cabinet members are sworn in Antigua and Barbuda following that nation's election. And Gumbe Kids is back. The show's creators let us know what's in store for the All Bahamian Show's new season. It's all coming up when Our News returns. A new Director General is at the helm of the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation. Latia Duncombe is the 7th executive named Director General in the ministry's 54 years and the 3rd woman to be appointed as technical head. Duncombe calling it an honor and privilege to be given the opportunity to lead the Bahamas' chief economic driver. Deputy Prime Minister and Tourism Minister Chester Cooper says Duncombe made a seamless transition from the corporate sector to the public service and has worked tirelessly to get the industry back on track following the pandemic. Her appointment taking effect on January 16, 2023. And the countdown is on to the country's 50th anniversary of independence. The logo and theme was unveiled last night in downtown Nassau. There was lots of entertainment for the public, the police pop band, the National Youth Choir, as well as Junkanoo. The theme, the Bahamas, one nation, one legacy, our future. Chair of the National Independence Secretariat, Leslie Bryce, says the logo was designed by 3 Bahamians following 300 submissions.
They came together and they came up with the beautiful design that we presented today. And it's all about collaboration. That is what we as Bahamians need to do more of, collaborate. We create great things when we come together as one.
Ruby Ann Cooper Darling, the first Bahamian woman to register to vote, was in attendance. She says she's proud to see how far the country has come.
It seems as if it was just yesterday that we were all excited about becoming an independent nation, and of course my late father, Ari Cooper's senior prehistoric independence message. So I've always been very, very involved in what was happening from a national point of view. And to see the artistry and that wonderful group.
All right, we've got a full report on that coming up in our news at 7:30 with our Talia Hall. And mixed reaction on social media as the logo was revealed in Parliament Square last night. Sasha Lightborn takes a closer look.
Devontae Butler, Darrell Williams, and Kirsten Pinder were the 3 finalists selected to create the 50th Independence Anniversary logo. They all shared their inspiration for the winning design.
I wanted something that wasn't generic, but also a little obvious. I looked at the way our islands, the archipelago, flew, and I realized that it was a slight S form, and I was like, I need that.
First of all, I start off with some research, and then I do a sketch, and from there we go to Junkanoo shapes and colors.
What inspired me was having all the islands of the Bahamas represented in a design. It's all about representing the Bahamas, Bahamians, and basically ourselves.
But how do Bahamians feel about it? On Twitter, one person said, "Out of 10, I give it 4.5. I really expected more." Another person said, "This was due midnight, and at 11:59, they added the flamingo." Another said, "I ain't gonna lie, the flamingos came out of left field." These 2 graphics also emerged, one showing the departure lounge at LPIA and the other with Kevin, the bird from the Saxons Boxing Day Parade showcase. But it wasn't all bad. One follower said, quote, "I like it, but it seems basic." Another said, quote, "This is cute." And another, quote, "This is stunning, but all I see is Olympics and Fun Run Walk." And we also polled our followers on Twitter and Instagram. Up to late afternoon, Twitter results showed a total of 100 votes, with 63% saying they did not like the logo. On Instagram stories, results showed out of the 111 people who voted, 60% liked the logo. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Thanks a lot, Sasha. The University of the Bahamas hosting hundreds of high school students to their Oaksfield campus for an open house this week. UB Vice President of Administrative Services, Dr. Marcella Elliott-Ferguson, says it's an opportunity for those students to learn about all they have to offer.
We have many departments from all the different academic units. Our guests have been doing tours, so they've had an opportunity to go into some of our labs, actually into classes, and be a part of what that teaching experience would be, see all the activities from the fraternities and the sororities and all the other fun stuff that we have. So we're showing off, we're showing what we have, and encouraging persons to come to the university, further their education here with us.
While potential students may find studying abroad attractive, she says UB not only offers a unique experience, but also opportunities to study abroad.
We also are in a fortunate position to be able to offer financial assistance for relatively free tuition to all that qualify. That's something that they probably won't get abroad. This is also an opportunity for them to network, because in years to come, who will be the leaders of our country? Chances are it'll be somebody who would have graduated from the University of the Bahamas. And if you look around today, you'll see that. You'll see our alumni in all sphere of the community. So there are many things that they can get here. But to add to that, I want to go abroad. We offer, as a part of our program, study abroad opportunities.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as 55 migrants are rescued near Puerto Rico. Plus, it's a Gumbe Day and the return of the RTV hit Gumbe Kids is just around the corner. We'll tell you when to tune in for the premiere. And there's a new excursion for visitors to Nassau, and it's just a short boat ride away. Our Megan Shepherd takes us ashore when our news continues. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Florida officials have blocked the introduction of a new advanced level high school course that teaches African American history. Governor Ron DeSantis' administration said the proposed course lacks educational value and is contrary to Florida law. The course is being rolled out in a pilot program by the U.S. College Board to 60 high schools across the country. Officials did not specify what law the course breaks. Now, the Florida Department of Education outlined its intent to block the course in a January 12th letter to the College Board, writing that the course violates state law. Google's parent company, Alphabet, will cut 12,000 jobs in the latest staff redundancies to hit the tech industry. In an internal email, Google and Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai said he took full responsibility for the cuts, which will affect 6% of Alphabet's workforce worldwide in teams, including recruitment and engineering. This comes days after Microsoft announced 10,000 jobs, that those 10,000 jobs would be lost, and weeks after that, Amazon announced 18,000 job cuts. The company announced severance packages for U.S. employees who will receive at least 16 weeks of salary, their 2022 bonus, paid vacations, and 6 months of health coverage.
Well, this is not a surprise, given all the other layoffs we've had, Meta, Microsoft, Salesforce, and on and on. So it's, and also, the CEO, Sundar Pichai, had been making remarks that cost cuts were coming. So it's not much of a surprise, and it's in line with the rest of the big tech industry.
At least 1.1 million people protested on the streets of Paris and other French cities Thursday amid nationwide strikes against plans to raise the retirement age. But President Emmanuel Macron insisting he would press ahead with the proposed pension reforms. French unions also announcing new strikes and protests for the end of the month, vowing to try to get the government to back down on plans to push up the standard retirement age from 62 to 64. Macron insists the measure is needed to keep the pension system financially viable, but unions say it threatens the hard-fought work that workers put in. and 1 person is dead and 30 others injured in Peru after clashes between protesters and police during nationwide demonstrations. Thousands of protesters marching in Lima in defiance of a government-ordered state of emergency and demanding President Dina Bolard's resignation and calling for general elections as soon as possible. The fallout continuing after former President Pedro Castillo was ousted and is now facing criminal charges over numerous allegations about his time in office. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents have rescued a group of migrants who were abandoned by human traffickers on Monito Island near Puerto Rico. CBP said the group, which was made up of 55 Haitians and Cubans, was picked up by a Caribbean Air and Marine Black Hawk crew and Rami Border Patrol agents who delivered supplies to the group abandoned by smugglers. And finally, cabinet members in the newly formed Antigua and Barbuda government have been sworn in. Prime Minister Gaston Brown's new and much smaller cabinet taking the oaths of office today. The cabinet is now made up of 8 ministers, which is 6 less than the pre-election cabinet. Brown will serve as Minister of Finance, Corporate Governance, and Public-Private Partnership. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was January 20th as New Providence recorded its lowest temperature ever on this day in 1981. We'll tell you just how low it got. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in our news at 7:30, Junkanoo and fireworks cap off an exciting night in Parliament Square for the launch of the new Independence logo and theme. That's coming up when our news returns. Welcome back to our news. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was January 20th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history, in 1964, Roger Smith, retired professional tennis player, was born in Freeport, Grand Bahama. Smith played both singles and doubles tennis. As a singles player, he was the highest-ranking Bahamian on the ATP circuit, 96 to be exact. As a doubles player, he is ranked number 73. At the Grand Slam level, the furthest he reached was the 3rd round at the United States Tennis Open as a singles player, and as a doubles player, he reached the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open in 1990. Smith represented the Bahamas in Davis Cup in 1994 and the Summer Olympic Games of 1996. Also on this day in 2002, the cornerstone of the new St. Anselm's Church was laid in Fox Hill. The church was completed and dedicated 1 year later on March 23rd in 2003. On January 20th, 1981, the lowest recorded temperature for New Providence occurred. Temperatures got down to a cold of 41.4 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1959, suffragettes called on the governor and presented him with a petition to be forwarded to the Colonial Office in London. Suffragettes pictured at Government House gates are, in the front row, left to right, Doris Johnson, Mary Ingram, G.K. Simonette, and Eugenia Lockhart. In the back row, Mildred Donaldson, Shirley Sands, Madam Willa Mae Saunders, and Marion Stewart. Then in 1979, the Nassau Guardian promoted the visit of Pope John Paul II. On January 25th, the late Pope started his first official visits outside Italy to the Bahamas, Dominican Republic, and Mexico. During his reign, Pope John Paul II made 104 foreign trips, more than all previous popes. In 2012, Senator the Honorable John Delaney, who was Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, accompanied by Permanent Secretary Archie Nairn, toured the new remand court facilities at Her Majesty's Prison. At the time, it was said that the new court would make it unnecessary for prison buses to race through the streets to take prisoners to and from remand hearings at the courts in downtown Nassau. In 2013, officials of the Ministry of Transport and Aviation launched a full investigation into another oil spill off of Pinder's Point in Grand Bahama. They claimed that the oil slick, the second in months involving the Bahamas oil refining company Borco, was no longer visible. Borco said that a pipeline was the source of the spill. It contained oily residue caused by the decommissioning of several pipelines. And finally, in 2021, American President Joe Biden was sworn in as President of the United States. He defeated Donald Trump in the November 6th election. However, Trump supporters staged an insurrection on the Capitol on January 6th, which put Washington on high alert, making this inauguration the most heavily guarded in history. Our Jerome Sawyer reported from Washington that night, giving Bahamian audiences a unique perspective on the events of that day. All right, Goombay Kids is back. The show, it started in January 2020, and it follows 3 Bahamian children on their island adventures throughout the Bahamian archipelago. Creator, Stephanie Neon.
It has folklore, it has culture, it has history, it has mythology, and it's all of our stories that have never been told on screen before. It's a very fun-filled educational show that focuses on STEAM-based education, but also cares about initiatives such as teaching kids climate solutions, youth empowerment, disability inclusion, all types of inclusion, and we really hope to help nurture the next generation and teach them the fundamentals of life through this.
Now, since inception, the show has employed over 250 Bahamians contributing to the Bahamian orange economy. It has also won a number of international awards. Neon says they've also partnered with U.S. production studios in hopes of taking the Bahamian show global.
Every season, the show's done what it's supposed to. It's gotten more viewers, it's gotten more sponsors, it's gotten more partners, it's gotten just like, more fandom. And so, we just all hung in there. We knew this show was onto something great. And each season it built, and the awards were so validating. And now this last season, we've had a proper budget. We could pay everybody's supposed to be paid. And so it really felt like we're, on this incredible trajectory. And I just hope that it really can get its wings and we can spread this joy and all this talent to the world.
All right, new episodes of Goombay Kids will premiere on RTV on February 8th at 8 p.m. and there will be a special showing of the show's 2-part series beginning at 7 p.m. tomorrow night at Fusion Superplex. Well, a leading tour company is answering the call for more diversity when it comes to entertaining and educational excursions on the island. Blue Lagoon launching the Salt Key Experience this past September, and so far visitors are finding it quite fascinating. Megan Shepard has more.
The Salt Key Experience combines a 1.5-hour walking tour filled with history, a picturesque 20-minute boat ride, delicious Bahamian food, and hours at Blue Lagoon's water park. Tour guide and public relations officer Jessica Robertson says the tour was inspired by a need in the local tourism industry.
There's been a lot of talk about how there's not enough to do in New Providence. We're bringing in all these thousands of cruise passengers, 6 ships a day, but there's not enough new stuff for them to do. What you're finding is that a lot of people who are coming and traveling nowadays, they don't just want the t-shirts and the straw market, which are great, but they want something else. They want to understand the places that they're visiting. And so with this tour, over a couple of hours, we're able to give them that understanding that they're craving.
Currently, there are 5 guides employed at the tour.
Our sales team has already told us what their plans are for this tour come this summer, so we need more people. So we've been working really hard to identify those people and to bring them on board and to train them. Other cruise ships have expressed their interest in it, and we certainly want to and plan to offer it to our hotel-based guests, but also to our local market.
Robertson also explained that sustainability is key to Blue Lagoon.
We have a sustainability department. We have international accreditations to showcase our sustainability. So it is important that we do things in a sustainable fashion. And part of sustainability is building those bridges to the past and to the future as well. So it all ties into who we are as a company.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan, for that. To watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Atalia Hall with the latest headlines. Atalia, Megan looks like she had a lot of fun. Have you been to Blue Lagoon Island yet?
I have not been as yet, but it looks
time.
like a lot of fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah, you went before?
I have, a few times actually. It's really good.
Sounds like a great experience. I'm going to check it out.
For sure.
All right, we are still following the story of that young woman who died at the Princess Margaret Hospital as an investigation has now been launched. Under investigation, first tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. The health minister says a probe is underway after a woman's last-minute pleas about her health care at the Princess Margaret Hospital are shared on social media. And transitional housing projects are on the way for Grand Bahama. What that means for those left with no shelter following the demolition of the Freeport Garden Resort. And the Bahamas, one nation, one legacy, our future. We're counting down to the 50th anniversary of independence. Plus, the public service may be going paperless as it moves toward a digital transformation. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment. Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. The death of a wife and mother of 3 is causing quite a stir on Facebook, exposing what she dealt with once she was admitted. The health minister tonight is on the record saying an investigation has been launched.
Anyway, I stuck here at PMH and I begging them to please send me home. But of course that's against medical advice. Yeah, they don't want to send me home, Mom, but that's okay.
Kenise Darville was admitted to the Princess Margaret Hospital on January 2nd after she said she was experiencing severe pain and died a little over 2 weeks later. But before her untimely death, she took to social media on January 11th, bringing light to the situation. After visiting a private clinic, she went to PMH as she didn't have medical insurance or the money to be admitted to Doctor's Hospital. She said blood tests were taken and revealed that her platelet counts were low.
From the third, they tell me, they was ordering me some platelets. The doctor came to me today, so casually, y'all, and this would get me upset. I sit here this whole time waiting, saying, okay, yeah, they waiting on the platelets, whatever. The platelets ain't never come. They ain't even never order the platelets. They come to me today and go tell me so casually that, Miss Simonette, now your platelet count is not a 20, it's now at a 7, which means that you are in urgent need of platelets and you should get some people to come out and donate blood.
The wife and mother of 3 believed health officials waited too late to advise her that she needed family and friends to donate blood. We put the issue that's sparking widespread outrage on social media to Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville, who said a probe into the matter is being conducted.
I was familiar with the case. I've seen posting on social media and instructed the Princess Margaret Hospital and the Public Hospitals Authority to do an immediate investigation to the allegations. I'm certain that that is already being done.
Darville admitted that there are challenges in healthcare facilities around the world. He said they're working to address facility and manpower issues at the hospital. This isn't the first time an allegation like this was made against PMH. So as for PMH's reputation, Dr. Darville said this.
Just as we have cases where individuals say the quality of care was not up to par, I do have people who reach out to me with full satisfaction of the care. So there's always 2 sides to the story. But it's very difficult to begin to speak based on a social media post because the delivery of healthcare sometimes is very complex and some individuals may believe that they're not being treated right, but when you look at the protocols, all the protocols would have been done.
No one asked when this investigation could be completed. The health minister could only say soon. But he says once it's done, the information will first be made available to the family, then to the public. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. Well, a doctor at the Public Hospitals Authority was convicted on gun, ammunition, and drug possession charges today Thursday. Dr. Gregory Tynes remains on bail pending a sentencing hearing set for February 13th. Now, back on July 25, 2021, officers executed a search warrant on the doctor's childhood home in Garden Hills. While searching a bedroom, police officers found a 9mm pistol loaded with 7 rounds of ammunition wrapped in a shirt. They also found over 2 ounces of marijuana on the dresser, in addition to $10,135 in a safe in the closet. At his trial before Magistrate Samuel McKinney, Tynes denied knowledge of the contraband. However, he said the money belonged to him. Well, police are searching for 4 people who assaulted and robbed a man just after 11 last night. According to reports, the man was outside Theodore Lane business off Tonic Darlin Highway when he was approached by occupants of a burgundy Toyota Passo. Police say the woman and a man in the car produced handguns, assaulting and robbing the victim of a cell phone and other personal items before leaving in an eastern direction. Now, if you have any information that can help police with this or any other crime, you're asked to call telephone numbers 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at telephone number 328-TIPS. More demolitions, restorations, and transitional housing projects are on the way for Grand Bahama. That's according to the island's minister. Our Marlena Leonard has the story.
The dilapidated and condemned Freeport Garden Resort was demolished last week, and although it had been condemned, it wasn't vacant. This led many to wonder what would become of the people who'd made that building their home. Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie tells us those people now have temporary homes in the newly renovated Trip Circle.
So they have actually moved today into the homes in Trip Circle that we just opened under the COLAD unit of the Ministry for Grand Bahama, and they are there and they have their own rooms and they have food and you know, they can wash their clothes, and so it was an awesome experience to see that we're working together collaboratively to impact lives, to help our people to rebuild their lives.
Trip Circle, also known as Restoration Village 1, began cleanup efforts for renovations early last year in preparation for becoming the home of a halfway housing project. And Moxie says the work doesn't stop there.
We're working on, a number of other buildings that need to be demolished. Actually, some of them can also be repaired. And so we have, actually Trip Circle is called Restoration Village 1. We have Restoration Village 2, that is Drake Avenue, and Restoration Village 3 is Garden Villas. So we're going to have a number of projects going on where we partner with others in order to, get the city where we need it to be.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks, Marlena. Well, mild conditions in the capital this evening heading into the weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson has the latest from the Weather Center. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Natalia, and good evening, everybody. Of course, we have some very nice conditions outside our studios. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures comfortable 73. A little warmer, feels like temperature. North winds at 7 miles per hour, and those temperatures will continue to fall as the evening goes on. Quite across the area, we did have some high-level clouds moving out of the Gulf of Mexico across the northern Bahamas. There's a frontal boundary to the north of Grand Bahama, and that front should stay stalled. We're looking for a couple of isolated showers across that area, but high pressure will dominate our weather tonight through tomorrow. That's a quick check on weather. Stick with us to look at your tropic. Your forecast, extended forecast, is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, a new Director General of Tourism has officially been appointed. We'll tell you more about the person leading the ministry. And fireworks in Junkanoo capped off a night of celebration as a new Independence logo and theme was unveiled. We take a look back on Thursday's festivities, and the public service is set for a digital transformation. We'll tell you what that means right after this break. The country kicking off activities in celebration of the 50th anniversary of independence last evening in Parliament Square. First up, the unveiling of the official logo and theme, the Bahamas, One Nation, One Legacy, Our Future. Well, I had the opportunity to experience that event, and I can tell you that Bahamian culture was on full display. The police pop band kicking the celebrations off in Parliament Square for the 50th anniversary of Independence logo and theme launch. The logo that is gold, adorned with the country's national bird, the flamingo, was celebrated by the crowd. The logo was designed by 3 Bahamians following 300 submissions from across the country. Their ideas were all put together to create the final image. Chair of the National Independence Secretariat, Leslie Bryce, telling Bahamians to expect a grand celebration for the country's 50th anniversary from now until July 2024.
We really encourage the general public to come out. There is an event for all. This is a celebration for all of us. We only turn 50 one time, and so this is our time to celebrate.
Prime Minister Philip Davis used the opportunity to reflect on the country's history.
This is our inheritance, and it is now up to us, each of us, to improve the course, steady sunward, to chart a better future.
Now, many who have helped to shape and mold the country over the past 50 years were also in attendance. Former Prime Ministers Hubert Ingraham and Perry Christie say they are proud of the country's accomplishments.
Christie and I together were fortunate enough to be Prime Minister of the Bahamas for 25 of the 50 years we were independent. We're very happy about the progress we made.
Well, I really felt good tonight because I had the privilege of playing a part of the journey. And either being with Sir Lyndon during his government and thereafter having the privilege of heading my own government.
Ruby Ann Cooper-Darling, the first Bahamian woman to register to vote, says overall she was impressed.
That group there shows that the Bahamians are very, very artistic, talented in music and production.
The event closed with a Junkanoo rush out and fireworks. All right, what a great event. While the public service is going digital, that's according to State Minister for the Public Service, Pia Glover-Roll. She says this year their focus is on operational efficiency in the public service, and that means implementing a digital document management system.
Many of the long waits that we engage in the public service is simply because we're looking for actual files. But if we have these files centralized in a document management solution, then there's easier and swifter access to files and documents. The second portion is our HRMIS system. When we hear about promotional backlogs, confirmations, reclassifications that have to be engaged, we now will have a system where we're able to have a digital check and balance in regards to ensuring that we keep on top of all of the needs of our employees.
And she says the overall goal is for the public service to go paperless.
We're still at the point in the public service where we're asking people to fill out a paper form in triplicate. But we want to do away with that. I don't think anybody around the world fills out paper forms in triplicate anymore, but we're still there. So as we evolve as a world, as we evolve as a nation, we have to make sure that our public service is keeping up with this evolution. The processes that take a very long time within the public service can be eased if we are to employ some efficiency mechanisms, and that comes through digitalization.
When Our News comes back from the break, do you know how many Bahamians have internet access? Well, we have the answer straight ahead.
Plus, coming up in sports for tonight, the UB Mingos taking on the Warhawks in ladies volleyball. We'll also give you details as DeAndre Ayton with a double-double, leading the way past the nest. That's coming up in sports.
Plus, our Bahamian WNBA star says it was time for a change. We have all of the details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. The rise of technology globally has led to more people gaining access to the internet. The Bahamas is no different, as the country now records the highest percentage of internet coverage in the Caribbean. That's according to Alive's Vice President of Marketing and Consumer Relations, Amber Carey.
The digital economy has experienced unprecedented growth, with the internet becoming accessible to more than half of the global population. 5.3 billion people are now connected to the internet, a 24% increase since 2019. In the Bahamas, 80% of the population has internet coverage, which is well above the Caribbean average of 60%.
The Bahamas also leads the way in mobile penetration. Kerry also sharing that increased wireless broadband penetration leads to economic growth in developing countries.
Compared to the Caribbean region, which has mobile market penetration of 63%, the Bahamas has a robust mobile penetration of 101% as of 2021. A World Bank study finds that for every 10% of increase in wireless broadband penetration, GDP growth is boosted by 1.38% in developing countries.
Earlier this week, it was announced that Bahamian WNBA player Jonquel Jones would be traded from the Connecticut Suns to the New York Liberty basketball team. Jones, who was drafted by the Sun back in 2016, requested the trade. Jonquel says it's time for a change and growth.
I felt like it was just time for a change, time for a new chapter. If you go back to any of the, Connecticut front office, we had that conversation about me stepping into a new chapter in my career. Obviously, bubble season happened. I didn't play. We had some injuries in Connecticut at the time. And so for me, last year was like, okay, let's see what this team looks like. Full strength, fully healthy. But I came into that season knowing that it would probably be my last in Connecticut. But I wanted to give it my all, and I wanted to see what that team looked like and what it felt like. Be in a city like New York, it speaks for itself. I don't really have to say much about that. So altogether, it just felt like the right move. I know it's the right move for this chapter in my life.
All right, and congrats to Grand Bahama native Jonquel Jones. Meanwhile, the Lady Mingos and Lady Warhawks and ladies volleyball. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton and the Suns take down the Nets. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Tell you what, the Mingos have been being very busy in the local leagues. Last night in ladies volleyball, taking on the Warhawks. Let's give you the details right now. University of the Bahamas women's volleyball team looking poised to start a comeback in the match against the Lady Warhawks. This came to the New Providence Volleyball Association. Mingos dropped the first set 25-21, came into the second set focused, and even set the score 25-22 second set win. Mingos then struggled in the third set. 8 service errors, 5 unforced ones. That dropped that third set 25-15. Team then regrouped in the fourth set. 3 service aces, 4 straight attack wins. They go up 11-8. The experienced Warhawks, though, staying focused, they were able to win the last set 25-19 as the Mingos dropped in 4, 25-21, 22-25, 25-15, and 25-19.
The team has improved tremendously. They're playing good volleyball. They're learning the skills they have developed, but we need to play with more confidence. Okay, I think once we identify a team that is, or a game that is beatable, winnable, we need to be able to take advantage of it. I think that is where we are lacking.
And that is your look at sports here on this Friday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Enjoy your weekend. Back to you, Italia.
All right, thanks, Marcellus. Well, your weekend weather planner is straight ahead right after this break. Welcome back to our news. Partly sunny skies may be ahead. Greg is back in the Weather Center with the extended weather forecast. Greg?
Yep, well, yeah, you did mention some partly cloudy skies. There's a frontal boundary to the north of the Bahamas, really across South Florida and Lake Okeechobee. Some moisture in the Gulf of Mexico will be streaming across us, so most of the clouds will remain across the northern islands. High pressure will continue to dominate the remainder of the islands. Throughout the weekend, that front is expected to lift. There's a low pressure system that will develop. Another front is expected to be in here by Monday, and that one will also bring us a couple isolated showers across the northwest Bahamas. But it won't be until next weekend before we do see a stronger front and some cooler weather expected in our area. Taking a look at our future forecast, that frontal boundary, as I mentioned, stationary across the northern Bahamas. A couple isolated showers across the Gulf of Mexico will move across Florida. Low pressure system develop. That low will move, and that front across us will lift back towards the north. That should bring us some clearing for the weekend. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Winds be northeast to east at 10 to 15, well, 10 knots really. They will fall light and variable at times. Seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. Tide will be low at 32 minutes past midnight. For the central and southeastern islands, east to southeast flow at 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, some isolated showers in the forecast through Sunday, but things will be rather nice for the beginning of next week. Let's look at our forecast. Have a safe weekend, everybody.
All right, Greg, looks great. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, Talia Hall, we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.